Mike's story is incredible.
Mike is like stellar.
He needs a cake that says Super Mike. He needs to be Super Mike.
I remember the first time I met Mike, he was a volunteer and also a participant at our pantry on Treasure Island with One Treasure Island. This isn't just a story about food, but it's about how the food that people get from the food bank transforms lives.
When people ask me, they say, man, you had kind of a rough life. Is there anything in this world that you would change? If you could go back in time, is there anything you would change? I would say, yeah, I would change the fact that my mother died. My mother committed suicide when I was 6, and my father dumped us in the orphanage. And then I spent from 7 years old just in and out of foster homes. 18, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. 77 of my friends died.
Mike returned home from the war after serving, and he got married twice, but he was having a really hard time adjusting to life back home after being in combat for so long. He ended up homeless on the streets in Concord in the East Bay.
And I lived back here for 5 years. My bed was right here. Okay. It went from here to the wall, and then my feet would be about here, my head would be down there, and then I'd take my bicycle and park it right here. Being homeless, you lose a little bit of hope. You stop looking towards the future because you think there is no more future.
He said, I was interacting with this policeman one day and he saw my Marine tattoo.
And it was summertime, so I had my shirt up, and then he seen my tattoo. I said, why are you yelling at me? Because you're a veteran and there's no reason for you to be homeless.
A few calls later and Mike was hooked up with Swords to Plowshares.
And I said, you're a veteran. We have a place for you probably as soon as maybe even tomorrow. It was so hard for me to understand how somebody in his 60s could be living like that.
Part of the deal with Swords to Plowshares, his condition for housing, was that he had to volunteer at the food pantry at One Treasure Island. And through that pantry, he was also able to receive some of the groceries that we distribute to all of our partners.
The food bank gave me the vegetables and stuff that I needed to get my health back up to par.
Mike was a yes or a no when he first came here, and anything else. And it was like, okay, well, does he have anything else he can say besides those 3 things?
He was just guarded, and why would he trust the world when the world had kind of been a cruel place to him growing up?
I'd see the looks on the people's face when they're coming to get the food, and a lot of them were like, sort of looking down in the dump. So I said, oh, no, we can't have this. Annabelle, how come you're not smiling? There you go. There you go. So then I started talking, and then things really started working out. All right, buddy. How are you? Good. Apples.
He became a whole nother person. When he got to the point where he was forming relationships with the little kids, they would play with the apples and all of that stuff.
Oh, you got my, give me that. I was learning how to come out of my shell. Oh, look at this. This one's bigger than the one you just had.
Mike met Minnette, who's the owner at Mersea, which is a restaurant on Treasure Island.
And I stuck my hand out to her and I said, about damn time I met my new boss.
You don't know it yet, but you're going to be my new boss.
I was the first person she hired and been with them ever since.
I've watched him blossom. He's confident. He's, tells stories, and he interfaces with our customers, and they come back and say, there's this guy, Mike. He helped us out, and he's so happy.
The minute I come in and put on my apron, ding, I'm like, let's go.
Mike is super busy with his shifts as a dishwasher, but he still finds time to volunteer at the food pantry at One Treasure Island.
I could see that I was still good, that just to let my goodness come out instead of holding things back.
The most beautiful thing about him is, even though he has gone through so many challenges in his life, he still has this hopefulness, not jaded by the negative things that he's gone through, and he still has a sense of humor and laughter, and he brings that to us.
He says that he's just a volunteer. He's more than a volunteer, and it's more than just food for some people. Sometimes we're their only interaction during the week of a smiling face, or if somebody's saying, how are you doing? Or it's your birthday today, happy birthday. Mike has been that for people. He hasn't known it, but he's been that.
Hey, the world is good. We're all maybe down in the dump a little bit, but with each other's help, we can all rise up, at least, if not just for that one day,